I'm gonna straighten my tie.
And who do we have with the phone number 6405?
You can press *6 to unmute yourself on the telephone.
Is it *62? Is that what it is, or *6?
I think it's just *6.
*6. Yeah, I'm gonna have to tell people on the other end that are trying to unmute and they're appearing with phones in court.
Yeah.
Learning something every day.
Okay, this is David Bartlett on ends with 405.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay, I'll wait a couple minutes yet. It's just right at 12 right now, so.
I take it, Sarah, you already got me, right?
Yep, got you down. You bet. Thanks for being here. Looks like we do have the core group for this committee. Anyone else would just be additional kind of joining in, but.
Okay, you want to get started then?
Sure,
All right,
whenever you're ready.
All right, we'll call the Wednesday, October 28th, 2020 CJCC, or I should say Dunn County CJCC Executive Committee meeting to order. And Sarah, you're taking the role as far as who is appearing by Zoom?
That is correct.
Okay. Is there anyone willing to make a motion to approve the minutes from our September 30, 2020 meeting?
So moved.
So moved.
I think I've seen three motions. I'll second whoever you got for a first.
Can I get a motion?
You got a motion from
My internet connection's
Chairman Bartlett.
unstable. Maybe you didn't hear me. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from our September 30th meeting?
Bartlett so moves.
Sheriff will second.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
third, fourth.
Any discussion about the minutes from our? Okay. Maybe we just have a consensus. So no discussion, then all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Same sign. Okay, motion, minutes are approved from our September meeting. Okay, and then staff reports. Sarah, go ahead.
Okay, first we'll start with a grant update. So our TAD grant for 2021 has been renewed. So that really funds our assessment protocol and the TAP program. So no changes there overall, and no questions on our program. So that's for $99,566. So just waiting for the paperwork on that, but it has been officially approved. We also got approval on the DOJ COVID supplemental funding. That's the $58,000 for our courtroom update. So we just got that notification yesterday. And that funding we've got a budget resolution that's working through county committees on that. And the projects are already moving ahead, so that expects to be done by the end of this year. Well, let's see. And on that, we didn't even have any questions or concerns with our plan. So just a good solid plan and a good teamwork getting that in and completed and approved. Update on the DHS Tap Grant. So that was some treatment funding that
I'm having
we-
internet issues, so I
Okay,
was just knocked out of the meeting and then I'm back, so.
okay. Just gave an update that we did receive the DOJ COVID funding for a courtroom upgrade.
Okay, and we have Katie on right now?
No,
Okay,
Katie's not
so-
on.
But that, and Paul, is it your understanding that work is going ahead now or before the end of the year?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's terrific. That'll really
Yeah,
get-
IT's already signed the contract and moving forward, and yeah, they were just waiting for that official approval, so things are moving ahead.
Terrific.
The DHS TAP grant that was mentioned last meeting, Chris and I were working on that, and we dug in a little bit deeper, and the devil in the details is that it really had to be a treatment provider for that funding. So we had to pass on that opportunity. But we'll continue to keep our eyes open for more grants that kind of help support our overall mission that we're working towards. Just want to update on some meetings that I've been attending. So NACO, their Justice and Public Safety Work Committee has created a subcommittee that's courts and corrections. So we had the kickoff meeting last Friday. So there's maybe 20 jurisdictions around the state that were asked to be part of that, and one of them is us. So that group is really going to be looking to promote best practices, looking to educate county leaders and criminal justice professionals, political advocacy for meaningful reform. And for an example, that is the Medicaid exclusion that's on that federal level that really prevents Medicaid from being used for jail inmates. So that's an example of that meaningful legislation that they're working towards. And then the fourth goal will be partnering to advance our common goals. So a lot of discussion about interesting, different places do different things. In Texas, they have the pretrial population piling up because they've got kind of a state moratorium on jury trials. So they're concerned, what can they do to get that population down? Where other jurisdictions like ours, the jail bookings have gone down drastically. So just kind of keeping the eye on what happens with some of these temporary COVID changes, and then really what can kind of be sustained moving forward, and really moving some of our practices leaps and bounds ahead when there was pretty strong, or at times just a concern about what would happen if this pretrial population got released. Would they have more crimes? What would happen? We've always had good practices in trying to reduce our pretrial population with signature bonds and then our bond hearings, but some jurisdictions across the country do things differently. So I think just a good opportunity to network with that NACO group. And it's open for others to participate as well. So as I have, as meetings are set and we have agendas, I can certainly share that with folks if they'd like to also join in and participate. Somebody have a question?
I was just going to mention that Texas doesn't have signature bonds. They don't do signature bonds. So I can't imagine. I mean, when we were at that conference in San Diego, I was talking to somebody from Texas, and they're holding people on $80 cash bonds for very minor offenses. And so
Yeah.
their pretrial population in the jail has got to be skyrocketing.
Right. They were in, it sounded like panic mode almost on what to do. Update on the state, the Wisconsin Counties Association. They also had a meeting recently with the Justice and Public Safety Committee. So we did get an update on the legislature, and it sounds like there's been really positive meetings with WCA staff and the governor's office. They've been kind of prioritizing the 911 system overall. We received a presentation by Forward Analytics on finances and projections, both on the state level and the county level. It sounds like the state level is doing okay budget-wise, but certainly fiscally conservative moving forward. And they really talked about the distribution of tax income, because so many people are changing how they shop. That's bringing in tax dollars to more of the rural counties that really didn't have, you know, shopping places in their communities. For example, for, you know, Dunn County, a lot of folks probably go to Eau Claire to all the shopping. Well, now that people are not doing that as much, if they're shopping from home, that just means more tax base for the county of purchase. It sounds like that's not going to be enough to kind of keep the tax rolls up, but they did say the evidence of the stimulus package earlier this year was that it was a success, because income did not drop in the state. So just kind of interesting stuff coming out of Forward Analytics, and that's a partner of WCA. And then we did get an update on the governor's budget. So it sounds like the governor put forth his budget, and this doesn't mean what gets approved, but just some of the priority areas. So they did put in for, let's see, PSAPs, equipment maintenance training grants. That's out there. It sounds like there's only 15 million when there should be about 50 million in grants there. So that's getting worked, and that's definitely a WCA priority. They put in pay progressions for DAs. So we'll see how that fares. They did, with the 12 court branches that were approved, we were one of them. The state's now asking for salary for those positions. So that's that second part of that process. The state DOJ did ask for the full TAD amount moving forward. So they didn't increase what they're asked, but they didn't decrease their ask. So that's anticipated to kind of stay where it's at. But they said, you know, unknown fiscal climate, election here pending. A lot of things are unknown as far as the budget's concerned. The committee was interested in learning more about what's going on with juvenile justice and the emergency response, and just hearing, you know, across the board, so many communities have to put a lot of law enforcement officers into transporting folks for that involuntary detention. So that's going to be one of our next topics when that meeting is scheduled. So again, just another good opportunity to connect and stay on top of what's going on the state level. And then my final update is with our SIM, the sequential intercept mapping. We did get our draft report. They're looking for input, and they have a survey and evaluation that they are asking us to complete. So they did send that out to our master list. So just encourage people to give their feedback. Once they get some feedback and some data from us, and we are also talking about this in our Stepping Up work group, they'll come back with a final report. But that's it for, last thing, sorry, is our OWI forum. So I just want to put a plug for the OWI forum. The date is on our agenda. It is going to be the 10th of November, Tuesday at 6 p.m. Hope to get a press release out shortly here. That's it, unless there's questions. Oh, Judge, your lips are moving, but I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm so used to being, you know, always being on that I get a little bit slow about this turning the mic off and on. But is that forum going to be by Zoom like this?
Yep. So Krista and I are going to be testing the
like,
system
by
out
Zoom?
shortly. And
Can you hear me?
Yep. Can you hear me?
He was asking if it was going to be on Zoom.
Yes.
Yeah,
so,
I'm having must be bad internet today.
Yep. So it will be on Zoom. So the attendees and support staff will have a Zoom link. But for the greater public, it'll be on Facebook Live or the YouTube channel to watch later. But there will be a link that'll be coming out on that for attendees. And I'll also be prepping each one kind of on some talking points so we can kind of have a cohesive conversation for that hour-long forum.
Okay, so you'll be talking to us about what you would like us to cover?
Yep,
Visually?
absolutely. Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay. Anything else on the staff report?
Nope, that's all.
Yeah, this Zoom stuff's great when it works, you know. It works a lot, we know, which is a good thing, but you know, I'm experiencing those difficulties today. I don't know if I'm freezing up on your screen or what, but okay, so we're on to consideration of work group reports and recommendations. Were you just going to run through those, Sarah?
Sure, I can. The written update was provided in the packet, and just really briefly, I can hit on some of the highlights. Of course, you know what you guys are doing and discussing, so I'll skip the executive update. Communication's been working on the forum, so we're just kind of finalizing that and getting the promotion out. We want to tie it with the alcohol initiative campaign, the posters. We have a QR code that we developed that links back to a landing page off of the CJCC website for safe ride home options. So just wanting to really get that, kind of have that cohesive campaign, us talking about being safe out there while we're having fun and don't drink and drive kind of message. The data work group, that's led by Katie Shalley. We are continuing to prepare for the presentation of our recidivism project that we've been working on for quite a while. That's an ongoing project, but it's we've got it really formed up nice to continue to do this in the future, but we'll have reveal our recidivism measures of our some of our programs through the end of 2019. And then once we get to the end of 2020 here, we'll be able to update you know, the next cohort. So that's just going to be an ongoing project and aligned with our goals of the CJCC. The DEC work group recently met, so we've got a new chair with DA Nodoff taking the helm there. So we had a good discussion and really starting talking about perhaps mapping for a DEC case, kind of bringing stakeholders together and discussing that process, really how a DEC case kind of moves through the system and what happens. We tend to make a lot of assumptions or assume things are getting done a certain way based on our own perceptions. So this helps clear up those perceptions, helps clarify the process, identify gaps and areas for improvement. But that group is really just kind of, I think, kind of reorganizing a little bit with the new chair and taking a little bit different focus. Evidence-based decision-making. So that group recently met as well, kind of working on the law enforcement training for the proxy tool and then the pre-charge diversion. So we talked about specifics for our training videos that we're looking to put together before the beginning of the year. And then they also approved the use of a new pretrial screening tool. So we're going to switch from the Compass pretrial to the public safety assessment, the PSA. And part of the reasons there, it's more validated. It's being used by the 7 pilot sites in the state. It's transparent on how it really calculates the scores. It does not require an interview like the Compass pretrial, and then it separates out the failure to appear from new criminal activity and from violence. So They'll get more information. It's better validated. It's more transparent. So it was kind of the time to switch. So when we have been getting some support from the state and the other pilot sites. So hopefully that'll be a smooth transition to that new tool. And it's a free tool and it's great. So we want to be using it. Let's see, Stepping Up Work Group. We just met yesterday. That's chaired by Chris Corpola. We're certainly focused on those SIM priority areas of housing and enhancing crisis options. So those were part of the discussion. And then we're also from the last meeting kind of working on some ideas for medical assistance treatment in jail, potential pilot. And then we've been talking about correctional officer training and some training needs there. Our treatment court advisory group recently met, so they've been in hiatus for a while, but they met and we did review the treatment court recidivism and got some feedback there on the measures. And that group agreed to meet twice a year moving forward. So at times we've struggled to have good attendance and really what's the overall purpose and how often we need to meet. So the quarterly meetings seemed a little bit excessive when we're talking about program updates for a fairly kind of stable program. So we'll moving forward meet in April and October for those meetings. But that's really, we want our team and the oversight and then some of our community partners. So it was pretty slim attendance this time around. So we'll work to enhance that for our next meeting in April. And then the Family Treatment Court Oversight and Planning Committee met. And we really got to receive some updates on that program. Since that's a newer program, we are meeting quarterly, and I think there's a need for that to continue. We got some updates on the program since it's been operational for a full year. And then we did get to celebrate some graduations in September, our first graduations with Family Treatment Court. So that was kind of the update of the different work groups right now. Any questions that you might have?
Any questions?
Okay.
I have a question. On that public safety assessment, the PSA, did that copy that get sent out anywhere generally, or I don't think I've seen that yet. I wasn't at the meeting, so.
So in the EBDM packet, there was information on the PSA and how it works, and it does show the questions and how what questions kind of factor into the different measures of failure to appear, the new criminal activity and violence factors. But what we plan to do now that we got the go ahead, we'll do some training on the tool for our in-house users and then the public defenders as well, get some information out there. It should be much more self-explanatory. Instead of just getting a category of high, medium, or low, it really kind of explains why they're at a higher risk and what factors go into that. Part of the challenge with Compass is that was a proprietary system, so you didn't really know what was in the recipe, and they weren't forthcoming to disclose that. So as we know, there's just a lot of noise out there about racial disparities in screening tools and assessments. So the more transparent we can be with the assessment tool that we're using, really the better. So this recommendation came out of our smaller meeting that we had for the assessment protocol, just some of the concerns, some of the perhaps seeing that people were coming back at a higher risk than maybe they should be. So this is a much more vetted tool, and we'll have some training on it as well to understand it and interpret what you're seeing. Because you will see it, the DA's office will see it, the public defenders will see it. So we want to be sure that everybody's on the same page with the tool.
And is that something we anticipate using with the assessor for new arrests
Yes.
before bond hearings?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, and again, some of those would be helpful, if there was some sort of explanation of how they define a failure to appear, because we have so many different types. We have, the weekly failures to appear because they, forgot about it, got their date mixed up, and then there are warrant appearance, the next day or two, versus, people that leave the state or something and, are hiding out with a warrant and just, it'd be nice to get at that, because it to me, that's a difference, just because people are unorganized and they miss court, and it's aggravating as all get out, because, we spend so much time doing things over for people that don't show up. And then, the next day, then, we got to take our time and pick up that case. But it just seems to me that if you're going to be increasing their bail because of that, it's just to sit in jail or something until trial, because you're, disorganized. That's one thing, as opposed to if you're truly an absconder, it's just a difference in my view in the weight to be given it. And my concern is a lot of these assessments might give the same weight to both of those situations. And we even had people had failures to appear because they couldn't get in the Zoom one day. We had some internet issues, and if that goes down as a failure to appear, that later on is going to be used to ask for a cash bail. I think there's a bit of a fairness issue there. So but that's just one of those areas of concern that I have. So
I will
Okay.
send you that information directly, so you have that information on the PSA. And right, it is much more structured and robust behind the scenes. So there is a defined definition for failure to appear. So we'll have more conversations on the new tool as we look ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Sarah. Anybody else have any questions? I know I had another one, but I think I've used up my question time, and I can't remember what it was. So, okay. So then let's move on. We have consideration for actions to be taken, and I kind of wish I would have gone back and looked at our bylaws. Do you keep those stored somewhere, Sarah? Our current version of our bylaws?
Yep, they're on our website, and I can certainly email them out to everybody so people have a copy. They probably have a copy from a different time that's buried in emails or
Okay.
other papers, so I can resend that.
But you keep the most current on the website?
Yes.
So when we get into number 6, we talked about this, before the meeting a little bit, and I don't know, Sarah, do you have anything to add at this point? I mean, if you had a chance to talk to anybody about their interest in being nominated for?
No, I haven't necessarily. I think that I would like this group to have that conversation out loud. I don't have any specific agenda as far as kind of looking ahead. I think it's a commitment, it's an obligation, and I think it's something that folks need to be willing to take up. So I have not recruited anybody for the position, so to speak. But I do have a copy of the bylaws right here. So just to kind of set the tone, that one of the responsibilities of this committee, the executive committee, is to recommend appointed members for the council. So that's our citizen members. That's the action or number B there, letter B. And then this committee is supposed to also make a nomination for the vice chair that the executive or that the full CJCC would then vote on at their next meeting. They would also confirm the citizen members that were put forth by this group. We did change the structure with our bylaws. Now there's 2-year terms. So Judge Peterson, you're just kind of coming to the end of your 2-year term. It'll end at the end of the year. Vice Chair Chris Corpola will be moving up to chair the CJCC. So for the next 2 years. So then it's us really identifying the next vice chair to be in line for future chairmanship after Chris Corpola's term ends in 2 years. The citizen members, we vote every year, so they have essentially a 1-year appointment. But the vice chair and the chair, those are 2-year terms. And essentially, the vice chair, it's kind of a 4-year obligation, right, Chris? It's kind of like signing up for the Army. You got 2 years of kind of training, and then you got 2 years of that leadership.
So, with that, just throw it out there for discussion. Is there anybody that is interested, or willing to serve as a vice chair for the next term, 2 years, beginning in January?
I guess some thoughts I have, just kind of thinking about our council and our makeup. We've got people that are within the criminal justice system, and then we have others that are kind of our partner agencies, but not within the system. So with Chris kind of not being a criminal justice entity as chair, it might make sense to have somebody that is within the system as vice chair for that balance. But then we also have other members, we've got county board members that are part of our group. So there could be some real leadership there. We've got our new sheriff that's joined us. He's just, now that he's been around for a while and he's got some ground under his feet, he might be willing to kind of start to assume some of that leadership with CJCC. But then I also think, what direction are we wanting to go in the future? And it's hard to look in that crystal ball and think about what directions that we're going to go. But I think those are some factors to think about too as we're having this discussion.
Here's one thing to consider. The sheriff isn't interested. I'm taking over as president for Wisconsin Sheriff and Deputy Sheriffs for the next 2 years, and then I'll be another 2-year obligation as past president for the 2 years after that. So I'm not really looking to take on any more.
Is the district attorney interested? Ms. Nodoff?
I'm happy to help if needed. So, I mean, I'm happy to do it.
I would follow up with, I would nominate Andrea Nodoff for co-chair or vice chair.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Well, look at that. We've got a nomination, a second to the nomination. So is that a nomination, or we have to vote on it then?
We need to vote on it, but I think first I move to close nominations.
Okay. Do we have a second to close nominations?
Second.
Okay.
We call the vote on that one, and then call the vote on the nomination itself.
All right. All those in favor of the motion to close nominations signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, so nominations are closed. So I guess does that leave us there that we've nominated the district attorney?
Go ahead and make it formal by asking for a vote on the nomination.
Okay, and so all in favor of nominating District Attorney Andrea Nodoff to serve as the vice chairperson for the CJCC signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, so then Ms. Nodoff, you have been nominated, and then that'll be taken to the full CJCC, right? That's November 12th or 14th?
November 12th,
12th.
Thursday at 4.
Okay. All right. Not on Saturday, the 14th. Okay. All right.
Judge Schmelzer would be game for that, but I think the rest of us want a day off.
The rest of us like our weekends. So he can't, I don't think he got that. Okay. So as far as the citizen members, we have currently, I'm having a brain cramp. We have Carrie.
Yep, Carrie Ackland.
Ackland.
She's the UW Stout Professor of Criminal Justice and Rehab. And the second citizen member is Shelley Jo Metzger. She had lived experience, and then she professional role at Arbor Place. My recommendation would be to retain those two for another year, 2021.
All right, I tend to agree with you. So do we have a motion to nominate again Ms. Metzger and Ms. Ackland to continue as the citizen members through 2021?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
I can second that.
Okay, and a second by Chris Corpola. So, okay, any other nominations? Any other persons that have expressed interest or that anyone here would be interested in nominating? Okay, hearing none, then how about any discussion on the nominations for Ms. Metzger and Ms. Ackland? Okay, then I guess we're ready for a vote. All in favor of nominating the two existing citizen members of the CJCC to continue as the citizen members for the CJCC for 2021. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Okay, so they will be nominated, and then again, subject to approval by the full CJCC. Now, this other action item on C, do we need that, or did we do that last time?
We did it last time. Yep,
Yeah.
that was on there by error.
Because we're going to do the form, right?
We got approval last month, and we're steaming ahead there.
Okay. Anything else? We don't have really anything else specifically on an agenda. So we have our next meeting of the CJCC. Then again, we've already mentioned November 12th at 4 o'clock, and that is by Zoom. And then our next executive committee meeting on December 9, 2020 at 12 p.m. So with that, and I should bring my gavel, a gavel. I should have some gavel. I think we can adjourn. So anything else? Any comments? Or I don't really think we have a spot for that anyway. So probably we shouldn't get into that. It's not on the agenda. So then the meeting is adjourned, and we'll see you next time. And thank you all for being here and being part of it. Bye-bye.